It's time to check out these Air Force 2s. Nike first released the Air Force 2 way back in 1987, and the shoes were made famous by Charles Barkley. Now, actually, Air Force 2s were the sequel to the ever-popular Air Force 1, which originally released 5 years before the Air Force 2 in 1982. A few years back, there was an excellent piece by Nice Kicks about shoes that came out and then had a sequel years later. And the piece was headed up by the Air Force 1, Air Force 2 combo, and appropriately so. Let's break out these Air Force 2s. The pair on top is a vintage pair from 1987, and the two pairs underneath were worn by DJ AM and by DJ Skee. And I want to break out the vintage pair first, and we'll walk through it, and then we'll have a quick look at the pairs worn by the DJs that I admire. So check these out right here. Red, white, and blue. The shoes match the Philadelphia 76ers colors, but actually they also match the colors of the Detroit Pistons, and a lot of players on the Detroit Pistons wore this shoe in this colorway back in the day. You can see that this is a vintage OG pair, and you can see that it's chipping and cracking over here. You can see the deterioration. Also, when you look at the tongue right here, you can also see a lot of cracking and chipping. Really, it's just such a shame, and it's probably my least favorite part about collecting sneakers, is that it's inevitable that they're going to deteriorate and fall apart over time. And this Air Force 2 just happened to deteriorate right here on the plastic and the chipping and cracking that you see on the tongue. Shoes fall apart in different ways, and it's kind of crazy years later when you look at a pair of shoes and see exactly how it fell apart. So for now, let's just kind of ignore the condition of the shoe and just talk about the technical specifications of this Air Force 2. Of course, it does feature Nike Air, just like the Air Force 1, which was the first basketball shoe ever to feature Nike Air technology. And back in these days, the Air was tucked away right here in the midsole. Interestingly, when we think about the history of Nike Air, 1987 was a pivotal year, and that was the year that the Air Force 2 came out. In 1987, Nike released the Air Max 1, which was designed by Tinker Hatfield, and it was the first ever shoe to feature visible Nike Air, and it was a running shoe. A year later, in 1988, Nike put that visible Air technology on basketball shoes with the Air Revolution and also the Air Jordan 3. Interestingly, the Revolution and the 3 have a lot in common. They were both designed by Tinker Hatfield. And when you talk about the Air Force 2, actually it had a lot in common with the Air Jordan 2 that was also out at the same time as the Air Force 2, and both of these shoes were designed by Bruce Kilgore, who was the designer of the Air Force 1. Now look at this Air Force 2, and let's start right here with the lacing system. Check out these 1, 2, 3, 4 little loops right here. And I'm going to move this out of the way, and let's look at this Air Jordan 2. And check that out. 1, 2, 3, 4. A very similar lacing structure. And this same thing could be seen between the Air Jordan 3 and the Air Revolution a year later. Very similar lacing structures, and both of these shoes were designed by the same person, the Air Jordan 2 and the Air Force 2, Bruce Kilgore, and then the Air Jordan 3 and the Air Revolution, Tinker Hatfield. There are more similarities, though, not just the lacing structure. Check out the back part right here of the Air Force 2. It's almost like a moon boot right here. And that same, or at least similar type of pattern and material can be seen on the heel of the Air Force 2 right there. Back in the day, DJ AM actually fell in love with Air Force 2s, probably because he was from Philadelphia and Barkley made this shoe famous. Also because the shoes match the color of the Philadelphia 76ers. He said that these shoes reminded him of a rocket ship in an interview once. And I think probably that rocket ship reference is going to have to do with that back design that's similar to the Air Jordan 2. Something interesting about this OG pair, it's very similar to the retros that we're going to look at in a minute from 2001. But one of the main differences aesthetically is that right up here, it's blue, whereas on the 2001 retros, it's all white up at the front of the shoe. We'll move this vintage original pair from 87 out of the way, and let's have a look at some of the shoes owned by DJs that I admire. We're going to start with the DJ AM Certificate of Authenticity right here. These were pair number 454 out of his collection. DJ AM's collection was about 900 pairs, and they were auctioned off on eBay. I bought about 60 of them. Most of the shoes that I bought were brand new, but this was one that I wanted used because it was the shoe that DJ AM fell in love with, and I thought it would be appropriate to own his pair that he wore over the years. So here they are. DJ AM's worn Air Force 2s. The plastic part hasn't started cracking and chipping like from the pair from 1987. Remember though, this pair is 14 years newer, from 2001. This pair has actually started deteriorating right up there. You can see the cracking on the leather on the tongue. Something very common even for retros. Really, really cool pair of shoes. We'll have a look quickly at the other shoe. There we go. Red, white, and blue. Gotta love it. One of the only pairs of used shoes that I bought from DJ AM's collection. So from DJ AM, let's have a look at the next DJ owned pair. These ones were owned by DJ Skee. And actually Skee wore these shoes on 4th of July a few years back. Posted some pictures on Instagram. And I reached out to him. And I told Skee that I had DJ AM's pair and that I would love to own his pair to add to the collection. And he gave them to me. And not only did he give them to me, but he signed them. You can see right here, Skee's autograph. Then we got an autograph right here on the other shoe. These were also worn by Skee. You can see he's got them laced all the way up to the top, but didn't tie the shoes. That's different than the way that DJ AM laced up and wore his shoes. I never touched these shoes once I received them from the AM auction, so I can only assume that the way that they're laced up here, just shy of the top two lace holes, was the way that AM laced them up and rocked them. There, back to Skee's pair. Skee's pair is definitely worn as well, but in better shape than AM's pair, for sure. On top of signing both of the shoes, Skee wrote me a nice message back here on the box. You can see it. I won't read it to you. It's a little bit personal, but thank you, Skee, for hooking me up with these beautiful shoes and for signing both of them, writing the message on the box. It's always unbelievable to own a great pair of shoes with a great story, especially when they were owned and worn by people that you admire. So there you have it. DJ AM and DJ Skee's Air Force 2s, and we already looked at the vintage pair from 1987. Happy 4th of July weekend, everyone.